Hi, I'm Jan Brown, and welcome to the Focus Lounge. I want to continue talking about love because I think it's important to really break down some of the things that we can unknowingly step into. Because a lot of our ideas of romantic love are formed through modern culture, society, um, movies, music. We take away some stuff from our parents as well, but it's shaped by a lot of what we see, especially in the formative years. And I want to kind of examine some of those to see if perhaps we could be finding better love relationships and matches if we just kind of see how this kind of thinking has led us into places that perhaps we could have done better in. One of those myths is the myth of you complete me. That you complete me myth is famous since Jerry Maguire uttered it in A Million Years Ago in his movie. Uh, Tom Cruise, sorry, it was Tom Cruise, not Jerry Maguire. That's the movie. So sad. Anyhow, Tom Cruise uttered it as Jerry Maguire, and the simplicity of those words, you complete me, sounded so perfect. Those words became the iconic way to say I love you to someone, just declaring yourself incomplete without them. And I can understand the romance appeal given all that, we know about romantic movies and stuff. It tracks with what we believe. But in reality, it's not like that, you know? The you complete me thing, by definition, sounds like you're incomplete and you need somebody to complete you, you know? The healthiest love is when two whole people come together and want to spend time together. That's choosing each other, not the if I'm not with you, I'll die. And that sounds, maybe less romantic, just saying that two whole people pick each other. Yeah, there's longing, there's romance, there's chemistry, but it doesn't deplete you or pledge love that sounds one sided, that can actually set it up to be that way. Another cousin to that is the damsel in distress. People sometimes fall into a rescue situation with partners because they feel like they're there for a reason. They love them, they want to help them. They feel like with their love, if you love them enough, you'll transform them. The relationship itself will become the catalyst for their change. Think again. That is setting yourself up for expectation that someone is going to change for you. And unfortunately, that is not the way that change happens, no matter how much a person may love you. They have to change for themselves. I always say a damsel in distress tends to stay in distress because it's not about you rescuing them. It's about that person's relationship to themselves and them recreating the same circumstances over and over again to need rescue again because they don't feel like they can do it for themselves. So, when you realize that all those things initially seem noble, but they can trap you in a vicious cycle, you start to think, "Whoa, wait a minute. Is there a better way?" You know? Can can something look better than this? And yes, when two people who are already full of their own life and are happy within their existence choose to spend time together, it's a merger that feels natural and comfortable and steady because they enjoy spending time together naturally. They're not forcing anything, they're not being performative, they're just being their real selves. The most comfort and the most freedom you've ever experienced in a relationship. Two whole people coming together is absolutely divine. Have you ever noticed that when you start chasing someone, they start moving away? In psychology, they call it the distancer pursuer. I call it the chase and repel because that's how it feels like. It feels like as soon as you start making energetic demands on someone, moving a little closer, seeking a little more reassurance, they take that as a pursuit. And that actually repels them. It's not something that is kind, but your neediness makes them feel turned off, want to retract from you or want to flee from you because it's kind of like, hold on, you're trying to encroach on my space and I need that. So it's irony how that works because both of them are responding to fear. The pursuer wants to close the gap between the distance that they're feeling because that'll make them feel more secure. The other person wants to move away, not because they don't want to give reassurance, but because this pressure is making them feel like they need to put some space between them. So it's just like before you know it, there's this pattern happening, and it's really hard to break out of it. When you stop chasing, you can hear what the relationship is trying to tell you. A lot of people try to outrun the truth because they suspect what it's trying to tell them. But it's not always bad news. Sometimes the truth is a launching point for change. Not every realization forces an ending. But there are times when you really have to face things before years go by and you still don't get what you want. I mean, sometimes people have the best intentions, but they can't meet you where you are. For some reason, they are not able to see a vision the same way for the future that you do, or they're not ready, or they're a wonderful person, but just not your person. You've got to understand that at least to give you a baseline of where you are. And sometimes, actually, as you stop chasing, you realize things are better than you thought. Maybe you gain more reassurance by relaxing a bit and let the equilibrium come into the relationship again. It's not easy once you're in the pattern, but I assure you, knowing is better than not knowing, whatever it is that you're going to find out. Even if you say, I'm not ready to do anything about this. Maybe I'm just, I still want to be here for longer, or I haven't finished thinking this through. Whatever it is, you allow yourself that because it's you within this relationship. But at least and knowing is growth. So never fault yourself. None of this ever invalidates time that you may have spent with a person, whether you leave, whether you stay, whether the relationship transforms. Love is love, and it's not something that can be explained by textbooks. It's just what it is. And sometimes you love a person and it's one of the most fabulous memories you could ever draw in your data banks forever and ever. And I mean, you could analyze it all you want, but does it matter? It's what you felt. And that's one of the richest tapestries of life is that you get to experience these things and remember them with a smile on your face. Not for what it meant or did you stay together or any of that stuff. It's just a wonderful memory. So be easy about things. And life is so much happier that way. I want to talk about another piece that sometimes is a pattern that's equally as hard to break, which is the overgiving part. So rarely does it ever start out that way. I mean, people don't start out relationships feeling lopsided generally. So let's say that your partner and you are living together, whatever, they had a hard week. So you decide that you're going to pitch in a little bit more in the house just to balance things out so they feel a little bit more supported. And then you don't want to add anything more to the plate, so you decide to become the person who starts making plans for whatever you do on the outside. Little by little, you find yourself doing more while that expectation becomes kind of ingrained in the relationship. The other person doesn't even know that they're participating in just kind of like letting their side go, but it becomes unbalanced. And then before you know it, the overgiving becomes the constant. and the person's becoming quietly resentful because they don't know how to stop it. And that's when they start thinking to themselves, well, if I give enough and I do enough, this will be rewarded in the end and all this love will come back to me. And that's where you run into trouble because that's where giving becomes transactional. You start expecting that person to reward you for all that you've done that you feel has been already unbalanced in the relationship. So when that person doesn't even come through the slightest bit, you're freaking pissed. And that's not something that goes away quickly. You start to feel like, am I nurturing this relationship or am I carrying it? So it's really important to at least acknowledge these things that I'm telling you about so that maybe you've experienced them and you can relate, or maybe you're like, uh oh, I see this happening or about to start happening, and you can put the brakes on it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is what I'm bringing these bits of observations to you for so that you can avoid these pitfalls and look for the things that are going to nourish you. Another thing that can happen is when you're, let me put it to you this way. My wise mother once said, I love you because I need you is a different experience than I need you because I love you. And I know that those can sound really similar, but think about it. One of them is based on loving the person. Their value is because they serve the need of that other person, where you start to become that anchor for everything that that person needs, whether it's balancing their checkbook or taking care of their house or just being that person that serves as their home base, but they're not that reciprocal about it, you know? And that's where you have to see that it's like, oh, wait a minute. Their need of me is what makes them love me. But if they don't need you anymore, that changes. Versus, I need you because I love you is like, I don't want to be without you because I love being with you. I'm a whole person that can be by myself, but I really enjoy being with you. That's really great because that says I choose you. I choose you, for who you are. This whole like melange that makes up you. That's rich, rewarding, super satisfying. You know, being needed can feel like love at first, but then you realize it's very exhausting because you organize your life around the needs of the other person. And because it becomes ingrained in your behavior, it's one of those things that, again, before you know it, you're in a pattern that's really hard to break out of. I want to talk about something else that people are always attributing to whether romance is successful or not: chemistry versus compatibility. Chemistry asks the question, do we feel something? Compatibility asks you, can we build something from here? And I want to make one further question. Does this person make me feel loved? Because that's another part of it. You can have the first two, some chemistry and compatibility, but if you don't have the third, then you're going to be missing each other emotionally. And the third one asks the question that we ask now, everybody: what is your love language? So, love languages, as far as I know, are physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and gifts. I heard somebody say there were five, but I'm operating on these four right now. So, if you're the type of person who likes physical touch, but your partner is an acts of service type of person, they may be giving everything that they've got and you don't feel it. They're working themselves to the bone, but you just want a passionate kiss before they leave for work. So I'm not saying that if you are not compatible initially in those ways of feeling love, that the relationship is doomed. No, it just requires attention. It just requires you understanding that your partner feels love this way. So if you want physical affection, let's say, and they take it in acts of service, maybe you go wash their car for them or put gas in it or something kind that helps them feel like, oh my God, they really care about me, you know, and maybe they'll feel more apt to be more physical with you because they want to please you. So it's not that anybody's being disingenuous. It's just like you start to learn a new language because you care, because you want to make that person happy, because they're putting in the effort to get to know you on all the levels that matter, including how you interpret the feelings of love. So that counts for a lot. It really does. Because when two people respect each other and like each other, they genuinely want to keep that momentum going. So there's a lot of good that comes of it. Another thing I want to make mention of is this feeling of wanting to rescue someone with your love, whether you're looking to save them from perceived injustices or self harm, whatever it is. You know, you feel like you're the one who can turn it around. You might, but one thing I've seen is that, first of all, the rescuee needs to want to be rescued. Okay. If they don't want to participate in their own thing because they haven't reached that level yet where they actually want to make that difference, that's a huge burden on the rescuer and one that should not be undertaken because true change belongs with the initiative of the person needing rescue. That's why so many things fail when they're forced upon someone because it's not organic, it's not coming from them. So that's an important part to face. Don't get caught up in being the person who seeks the potential of the other person and falls in love with it and wants that person to become that. You know, you don't have to wrangle anybody into becoming anything. People will become on their own. And all because you love them and you feel like it is a noble way to be to see them in their full light. And therefore, they should join you there in that vision. It's not up to you. It's in their timing, their divine blueprint, how they're going to do it. So you can't attach to that outcome of, well, when this person reaches their potential. Mm-mm. Wrong move. Be the person you want to be in relationship. That's the best advice anybody could give, honestly. The reality is, you can't heal for someone. You can't grow for someone. You can't learn for someone. You cannot become for someone. They have to see and step into their own potential in order for it to happen. People who are whole don't place the responsibility of a future on somebody else's shoulders. They just walk beside each other because they like to. They can be on their own, but they choose to walk together. That to me is one of the most attractive things that can be. Being with someone or wanting someone without wanting to possess them or turn them into something else that they're not. And admiring the fact that there's so much comfort in your relationship that you can be the person that you are, the ultimate truth of who you are. That's real, that's comfortable, and that's what everybody is searching for. Sparks, passion, love, happiness, laughter, freedom, respect, all those things coming together under one comfortable relationship. That's what I call a true partnership, really. Something sustainable that you want to continue to move forward in. After everything we've talked about today, I just want to talk about one final pattern that I think that we don't even think about. Do you realize that we carry around an internal profile of what the ideal partner behaves like? And when we get with someone, we unconsciously start measuring them against this internal picture that could be a composite of all the things that we may have seen with parents, society, all that we talked about. But as we use this internal compass to gauge whether the partner that we're with is behaving properly or improperly, we're keeping score, because that internal compass of the picture that we hold is what speaks to us about whether we're being successful or not in the relationship. Are they treating you this way? Are they being this way? Are they that way? Oh no, you're not getting what you wanted? Wait, what? What does that mean about them? That's when the control starts to seep in. Little suggestions at first, but then they become more manipulative, more forward, more frustrations start to come to the fore because nobody wants to be managed. So problems start to arise because you want to be seen and you want to be respected. You want to be the person that you are and not be manipulated with anger from your partner if you don't behave a certain way. And this is what I'm talking about, that as you live your life and you realize how many different ways you can be in relationship and how many ways um you can fall into patterns and stuff that don't say anything about you other than you've tried life and you've seen how some things evolve, and maybe now you're doing stuff differently. Whatever it is, these are just things to look for. And I will say this: the more that you delve into who you are and like yourself as a person, the better match you pull into your field. Because two whole people enjoy their own company, and a relationship is a nice to have, but they're not defining their worth or their life by whether they have one or not. So when a person like that who enjoys their life genuinely invites someone to share their life with them, it's because that other person is genuinely adding to their life experience. That person is being chosen because they add to their life, not because they need somebody to be that, whatever you want to call that role, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. They're seen, they're appreciated, they are who they are. And rather than moving through life alone, they choose to do it together. They still have their own interests, but they come together into the relationship again with more to discuss because they have their own separate interests and things that they also do together. It's friendship, it's trust, it's balance, it's love, it's passion, it's chemistry, it's attraction, it's everything. It's everything because you deserve it and you can have what you want and you can just relax into the knowledge that your match is coming to you when the right time is because you're being that person. So pour into yourself, love yourself with the same passion you would someone outside of yourself. And believe me, that passion will come back to you. Trust and believe. Until next time, I just want to leave you with this. You are the blueprint. Everything that you learn, everything that you take away from everything that you hear and resonate with and examine with your own thoughts is growth. So kudos to you and thank you for coming along this journey. If you've stuck with me this far, I think you've got some good stuff under your belt by now. I love doing this and I just wanted to really continue something important and as intimate as the love conversation in this way because the parable of the unlikely two showed certain patterns and pitfalls that can happen, but I wanted to really just talk about them here with you. And I leave you with the knowledge that you're all understanding your sovereign, deliberate creatorness, and that love is part of that, and that being your best self starts with you and brings you the right match to that vibration. Until next time, I'm Jan Brown. and I'll see you soon.